welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Doing Sola, in case you do not know, but you can call me Doing. My name is Doing and I am excited that you stopped by. Today we're going to be having story time. We're gonna be having story time. But before I tell you this story, are you subscribed to my channel? Yeah, that's what I thought. Please subscribe. Please. Thank you. So we're going to be having story time, the story of Esther. Yes, we're going to be saying the story of Esther today. And this can be found in the Bible in the book of Esther. In case you do not know, it's in the book of Esther. And disclaimer, there are a lot of names that I cannot pronounce in this story. So I'm just going to cruise along and not attempt to pronounce them. Without further ado, let's get the party started. And when I say party, I mean party. Like, the story starts with a party. So there was a king whose name I cannot pronounce, so I'm going to call him the king. So the king had a queen. The queen's name was Vashti, and the king was throwing a party like kings do. So he was having this party, and it was like a multi-day event. So the party was like some days long. So the king had his own party, and the queen Vashti, she also had her own party. So they were hosting two different events, but it was just one big party for something. So on one of the days of the party, the king was a little drunk, and he told his servants to go call Vashti because she was a beautiful woman and he just wanted to show her off, right? So the party was not just for like the king himself or the people. So he had like his attendants, royalties from other countries or states, if you will, in attendance, and he just really wanted them to see this queen. Like, he just wanted to show her off and be like, oh, by the way, look at the beauty. So the attendants went to get Vashti, and she said she wasn't gonna come. I don't know why. She doesn't, the Bible doesn't tell us why, but Vashti said no. So when the attendants told the king that, okay, she said no, the king was like, she said no. I said, she's not coming. So then he asked his wise men. So he has like some people, they're like counselors, but they call them as wise men. So he asked the wise men that, what should we do? Like, how should I react to this? She's not coming. And that's why the wise men took it personally. They were like, you have to do something. Something has to be done to this woman, because if word gets out to like the city now that the queen said no to the king, then our wives start to say no to us. But women in the city will start to disobey their husbands. Something has to be done to this woman to show her and to make an example of her that you cannot disobey the king. So they said she should be stripped of her title as queen. She should not be allowed to see the king again, and another should take her place. You see that they basically with these people, like, look at them, bad advisors. Nobody, all of them said strip her of her title and nobody should take her place. Nobody even said, maybe she's not in the mood, maybe let's give her a contract. They said strip her of her title. So the king took the advice of the people he hired to give him advice, and Vashti was stripped of her title as queen, and another was supposed to replace her. So to get a new queen, because a king cannot be queenless, a king needs somebody by his side to be doing these royal activities together. So to get a replacement for the king, they were going to have like a little fashion parade, the virgins in the land. This is like Nigerian movies, Igbo movie, where the king meets a wife and people start a parade, basically. So they're like, virgins in the land, is your time to shine. So now this takes us to one of the virgins. Her name was Esther. So she was a Jewish orphan. Her parents are dead, as orphans, as the word orphan connotes. Her parents are dead, and she was living with her cousin Mordecai. So Mordecai was like he was a legal guardian, basically, and he was like, oh yeah, they're calling her the virgins. Are you not a virgin? Join the queue. So basically Mordecai was like, it's your time to shine, go to the palace. But when she was leaving, he told her what she should not do under any circumstance is tell anybody that you're Jewish. At the time, the Jews were minorities in the land, and it was just like, we don't need that bias or prejudice. Just go there and do whatever it is you have to do, but don't tell anybody that you're a Jewish person. So then Esther packs her bags and a load and she's like, oh yeah, Palestine, I'm just kidding. But Esther, the Bible says, it was a very beautiful girl, like very beautiful young woman. So they go to the palace, but they're not like in the main palace. They're in the palace, but they have like a separate place for the women, right? So the women were supposed to, the virgins will be there for like a period of a year. I think the year was split into like two sessions, like 6 months, and they were supposed to have like this whole beautification process, bathe in oil, perfume, just to prepare them to present themselves before the king. And the process is that when you present yourself to the king, then the king will now call somebody by their name and be like, you are the chosen one, and they live happily ever after, and all the other women can go, basically. What a life. So when Esther got to the palace, I like her name. Oh, she has a Jewish name. There's Hadassah, and I think that's like the most beautiful name ever. But I digress. So they get to the palace now, and Esther found favor before like the person that was supposed to be in charge of the women. So they had somebody whose job it was to just make sure the women were okay, teach them their manners, feed them, make sure that everything is okay for the king. So she found favor before that man, and the man was just like treating her right, giving her special like, I will treat you okay, you will shine. So basically she was just she was well taken care of. And then, so before you go present yourself to the king, you can ask for anything, like anything you want from the royal courts. You can take it with you to where you will see the king, because after that saying the king, it's from there to your father's house if they don't choose you. So Esther was like, oh, I'm not going to take anything that they do. Like the man, she basically looked to the guy for counsel, like, what should I take, so the guy told her what to take. And when they presented her to the king as a babe, he was impressed, and it was just like, I found the one. They had like a slow motion music thing. I was like, cute. But basically the king saw Esther and fell in love straight up. It was like, every other person, have a nice day, go home, this is the woman for me, I choose my queen. So the king chose Esther and made her his queen. So Esther was queen. And then after that, now insert this little scene. One time our cousin Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, and he overheard some people plotting to kill the king, because you want to plot to kill somebody, but you cannot do it in private, you cannot do it in your house, you have to do it at the door of the person's house. You know that. But they were plotting to kill the king, and Mordecai heard, and he told Esther like, they're trying to kill your husband. So Esther told the king investigated it, and it turned out to be true. So they executed those people, but they wrote Mordecai's name in like the book of records. They have a little book where they write today, like a diary, a journal, like, oh, today this happened, blah blah blah. So that happened. So this now comes this man Haman. Haman was kind of like the king's second in command. Like the king loved him, the king exalted him above all the other people that worked for him, and like he had like power. The king even gave like a decree that people should literally bow down to Haman. Like it was that powerful, basically like a second in command. So Haman one day was just doing his daily, I don't know, his walk around the city, and everybody was bowing to him like, hey, Hamano, Hamano. And then Mordecai just like, okay. Mordecai basically did not bow to him. So one of the people working with Haman was like, Mordecai is not bowing to you, he doesn't respect you. Let me tell you, in this story you just be seeing evil counsel everywhere. People that will be in your ears and not letting you focus on your journey. So this thing will tell Haman that Mordecai is not bowing to you, blah 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 blah. And then Haman was like, he's not bowing to him. Who is he? Like, what does he have? Why is he not bowing? So upon further investigation, Haman finds out that Mordecai is a Jew. You don't mean it. Not only are you not bowing to me, you're not even from a tribe that has caliber. You're not even from a group of people that you people. It was like, you know what? How about we wipe off the Jews? How about we kill the Jews? Let's destroy them. So Haman takes this proposal to first of all it goes to his friends and family, and it's like, first of all, it just baffles me. This is Haman that has everything. He has money, he has wealth, he has everything, but this one person that did not bow to him was causing him sleepless nights. So he goes and he tells his wife, his friends, like, I don't like what is happening. This, and they're like, why is he doing that? So then he goes to the king, and it's like, there's this group of people, the Jews. They're few in number, but they don't listen. They have their own religion. They don't do anything you ask them to do. Please just give me the power, let me write them off before they become problematic to you. And then it was so invested that he also made a promise to pay, I think, 372 pieces of silver to the national treasury to do this. I don't understand. So he was saying that I'll kill the Jews, just give me the power, I'll kill them, and I'll even pay the treasury for doing this, basically. So the king was like, whatever, do whatever you want to do. So the king gave him his royal ring signet, and he did the stamp, like he stamped it. He made a decree, he sent it out and said, on so and so dates, we are going to execute all Jews in the land. So when, like, all the Jews were distraught, obviously, like this, the news was posted everywhere, market, everywhere, just like saying, get ready on the 13th, you're like gonna die, goodbye. So Mordecai sees this and he's sad, like he's a Jew, he's going to die. So Mordecai is like wearing sackcloth and he's sad, and he just was crying, and he was out on the streets just mourning, basically, like people, they were all sad. So Esther got word that our cousin was on the streets like mourning, and basically, so she sent people to give him clothes, and he was fasting, he wasn't eating, so she sent people to give him clothes and food, and was like, please cousin, just eat and wear clothes, I guess. And the cousin was like, this is not a matter of clothes, they're going to kill us. So he told the people that she had sent to just tell her, like, if you can talk to your husband and just see how this can be reversed. So Esther told them to go and tell him that, you know how these things work, it's not like I can just walk into the palace, like this is the palace. In those days, it's not like you can just walk into your husband's room and be like, oh babe, this is this. So you cannot go to the king except the king summons you. And she was like, I have not even been summoned in the last 30 days. Like, you know that it is death if I go to see the king without being called. So I cannot even present our case before the king because he hasn't called me. And so Mordecai was like, okay, if you can help us, God will help us. Like, if the salvation is not going to come from your end, we will still be saved. Like, God will raise up salvation for us, whether you do it or not. And just know that your people will perish and you will perish. Like, the fact that you're in the palace does not mean that you're exempted from this whole thing. You're still Jewish, and that at the end of the day, you never can tell. Who knows whether you were put in the palace for such a time as this. So when the word came back to Esther, and they're like, that's what your cousin said, she was like, okay, so go tell my cousin that you should gather all the Jews around and they should all fast for 3 days. Like, fast, pray, just I'll be fasting with my servants and my maids too, and just I'll go before the king. If I die, I die. At least I know I tried. So Esther started to fast and just wait on God. And then on the 3rd day, she dressed up like the queen that she is, and she was standing, like, I think in the garden or something, and then the king saw her and he was like, what's a babe, I haven't seen you in 30 days, what's happening, come to me. So he summoned her, and then she came in, and he was like, oh, what's wrong, like, what do you want? What baffles me about these people is that these kings in the Bible, it's like when they're excited, they just start to talk. It's like, ask for anything, even up to half of my kingdom. They are always promising up to half of their kingdom. And I'm like, why are you trying to give away half of your kingdom? I don't get. Can you not say I'll give you money? Like, anyways, was like, what do you want, my beauty? Even up to half of my kingdom, whatever you want, I'll give you. And so she was like, I don't want much. I just want you and Haman to come to, like, this beautiful banquet that I have prepared for you tonight. And so the king was like, food, I'll be there. And then he sent people like, go get me Haman, like, call him, let's go, like, this party that my babe has prepared, we have to be there. So the king's men went to get Haman, and they showed up at the queen's banquet, and they ate, they married, they were having a good time. And the king was like, babe, is it just food? Ask for something. Like, I have money, let me treat you right, let me take care of you. You want to travel, you want to. And she was like, no, I just want, if I found favor in your eyes, can you come to another dinner? Can I host you and Haman again tomorrow? So he was like, oh, fine, that works for me. So the king left, The queen went back to her room, and Haman went home, and he gathered his friends, gathered his wife, his children, everybody, and he was just talking about how rich he is, how blessed he is, and he was just like, ah. Okay, no, before then, as he was leaving the palace, as he was stepping out, he was in a good mood though. He just saw Mordecai sitting down there, and he got upset. It's like, ah, this thing, you're still existing, ugh. And he was upset. It's like, how do you let something so trivial affect your joy, affect your life? So he got home and he called everybody, and he was just talking about all the things he has, his money, how the king loves him, how he was the only one invited to this special banquet with the queen and the king, and he has been invited again tomorrow. And then he was like, ah, but all these things I have is not satisfying me because Mordecai has refused to bow before me. Like, how? Let me tell you something. Pride is blinding. Like, pride will not let you see the blessings you have. It will not let you appreciate what you have. He was so proud. He was so entitled to this bowing down that he was so enraged that all these things I have, I'm not satisfied. Mordecai has to bow. I have to shed his blood. And then he was just like, what can be done? And then his family, instead bad advice crew, they were like, you should totally build like a gallows and tell the king tomorrow that you want to kill Mordecai. Like, you're so favored, it will totally let you, it will totally let Mordecai die or whatever. So it was like, great advice, we should do that. So he built a gallows in front of his house, like really high, like, tomorrow is the day I kill Mordecai. Meanwhile, the king is in his house. After this good meal, he could not sleep, and he was so restless, and he was like, okay, yo, bring me the book of remembrance or whatever it is, and let me just, someone should come read it to me. So the king is sitting there, and they're reading this book to him, and then they read it and get to the part where Mordecai had Mordecai had revealed the plot to kill the king. And the king was like, okay, so what did we do for the guy? Like, what did we do to him? And they were like, nothing was done. And he was like, nothing was done? We should do better as a people. We should do better. So he was like, let's do better. We should do something for this guy. And so he was like, what can we do for this guy that did make me die, that saved my life? And he was just thinking, and he said, let me ask one of my people what should be done. Unfortunately, and that was already like towards morning, so he couldn't sleep through the night, and it was reading this, and towards the morning was when they read that to him. So it was like, oh, who's on the court? Let the person come talk to me. And fortunately, Haman was walking in, just coming to come and tell the king about how they wanted Mordecai to be executed. So someone was like, oh, Haman is here. And then he called Haman in, and it was like, what shall the king do to a man that pleases him? And Haman was thinking in his mind, like, who else is pleasing to the king if not me? And I was just thinking, okay, what can the king do? Put him on your finest horse, one that you yourself is riding on. Wear your clothes, like put your ring, just dress him up, put him on the horse and parade him in the city town, and just have someone walk behind him and announce, this is the one that pleases the king, this is what shall be done to the one that pleases the king. And the king was like, that's a good advice. Go do that for Mordecai. He's shocked. The king told Haman, Mordecai's sworn enemy, to put him in the royal outfit, put him on the royal horse, and walk him in the city and shout, this is the man that the king loves. And Haman was just like, what a twist. So Haman had to do all of that. He put him on the, what's it called, on the horse, dressed him up or whatever, and then he put him, like, he was walking him around the city and just ringing a bell and shouting, this is what shall be done to the one that the king pleases, blah blah blah. And I know that it was dying on the inside, and this is how God will be using your enemies to proclaim your goodness. It was dying on the inside, just having to announce this. So after they did that, it was already evening, so they came back. They dropped Mordecai back at the king's gate. For some reason, Mordecai is always sitting down there, and they dropped him there. And Haman went home angry, like it was furious, and it was just telling his friends and family, like, can you imagine what just happened? Like, I just had to walk like Haman, Mordecai, blah 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 blah. And he was saying that, and then his friends told him, "You see this one that you have done for Mordecai, and the fact that Mordecai is a Jew, you cannot win this battle. You will be destroyed." And just as they were just talking about that, the king's men came to pick him up for the dinner, the banquet with the queen. So they came, they picked him up, and then they got to the banquet, and they were eating and having a good time. And the king was like, "Tell me, woman, like there has to be something. Tell me, what do you want?" And then the queen was like, "All I want is just for you to spare my life and spare my people." And the king was like, "Spare your life, spare your people. What's going on? What's happening?" And she was just like, "Someone seeks to kill us. Someone seeks to destroy my lineage, and I just do not want to die. I don't want my people to die." And the king was like, "Who is the person? Do they know who you are? Do they know who you are? Who is this person that is stressing my wife?" And then Esther was like, Haman, and the king was furious. He was so mad. He got up and just walked into the gardens in anger, like, "Oh, I've had it with this guy." And he walked out. So as he walked out now, Haman was like, "Hey, madam, please help me beg Oga not to be angry. Hey Joe, sorry, forgive and forget. Times are tough. Please, I'm sorry." Because obviously he knew that the king was upset and the king was going to react brashly. So as he was begging, he decided to, I don't know, hold madam's leg. That's hold the queen's leg. So as he was trying to like lay and hold her and just beg, the king came in and was like, "Violating my queen in my palace?" Extra anger. And it was just like, "So you're going to like violate the queen? Like, what are you trying to do? Rape her? Push her down? Like, what is going on here?" And he was so upset. As he was talking, the king's men came and took Haman, and they were just like, "Oh, by the way, Haman has this very tall gallows in front of his house that he wanted to put for Mordecai." And the king was like, "Perfect, hang him." And so the king was like, "Kill Haman, hang him on this gallows that he already put out in front of his house." This is what they say: you use your hand to do yourself. That's Nigerian slang. You say, use your own hand to do yourself. You dug the pit, you fell in it. So they took Haman and they hung him on the gallows. And then Esther just was like begging the king and saying like, "You have to change this thing. You have to save my people, spare my people," or whatever it is. And then the king got Mordecai to come. He kind of upgraded Mordecai, and then Mordecai came and just changed the decree, wrote a new one, put the king's sign on it, and they sent it out to the people. And that was how the Jews were spared. That's the end of the story. That's how the Jews were spared. So there was no killing of the Jews on that day. And now you're wondering, interesting story, oh, interesting story. How does this affect me doing? What is my business with King Esther and Haman? Like, how does this affect me? A lot of ways, my dear sisters and brothers. A lot of ways. First, I think that one thing to hold here is, I know the last time we spoke, we spoke because we're friends. The last time we spoke, I was talking about the importance of friends, like godly friends, counsel, all of these things. And can you see how it just comes back full circle? First of all, the king did not have like people to give him great counsel, and that's what led to Vashti leaving. Anybody could have counseled the king any other way and he would have possibly taken it, but the king did not have good counsel. Haman, surrounded by all of those aristocrats, all of them, dig gallo, oh, do this. Bad counsel just was eating deep, and that's the reason. Only bad advice was what made Haman become what he became, was what caused Haman to be a dead man. He was living his best life. He had everything. If when that person told him, "Oh, this person's not bowing to you," Haman was like, "Whatever." Or when he got home and he told his wife, she was like, "That's just one person. Like, don't bother yourself with that. Like, there will always be rebellious people. Not everybody is going to." And whatever he was doing was not even directly affecting you. If he had good counsel at whatever point in his life, his story might have turned out differently. Another thing is just the whole bravery of Esther, right? As much as the king was like, "Oh, you cannot come before me," Esther understood the pace of prayer, and she decided that, you know what, by my own power I cannot go before the king. And then she decided to fast and pray, and just told all her people to pray with her too, right? So she understood that with God, God can make a change. God can turn things around for you. So That's what the second thing. And the third thing I just wanted to say is that your past does not determine your future. Look at Esther. She was an orphan. She's from a minority group of people. She was a Jewish orphan in this land, and she wasn't like, she never would have dreamt that she would become queen. Not talk of saving her people, right? And here she is in this land, and now she's queen, and she's doing all these great exploits. That's another thing. That, like, do not let your present condition like deter you from attaining for higher things, and do not let the things that have happened to you in your past also make you look down on yourself or think that things cannot turn around for you, or that God cannot just change your situation around. And also, nothing is a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence. Like, just looking at the story, like from how Vashti chose not to move, to how Esther became queen, to how Mordecai revealed the plot to kill the king, to the gallows that that Haman had built. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything was just in that place where it had to be. And Esther being in the palace at that time, like what Mordecai was saying, that like she was there for such a time as this. Like, God already knew that somehow Mordecai's existence will annoy Haman, and he put Esther in that position where she could save her people in the long run. So whatever it is you're going through right now, I'm just going to encourage you and say, nothing is by accident. It might not make sense, but just always pray to God to reveal to you the bigger picture. See the bigger picture of why you're in your situation, or what He's doing around you, and how you can join in. And another thing is that we should not be prideful. Like, pride leads to destruction. It was the reason why Vashti was demoted from queen. It's the reason why Haman ended up dead. Pride, there's no good way pride ends. Like, pride will only lead to destruction, and that's it. Just pray like that pride doesn't like overcome our hearts, and that God should help us to see that no situation is permanent. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends and family, and I will see you next time. Bye.